Back on my grizzly again. Back on my grizzly again. Back on my grizzly again. Back on my grizzly again.
Yo, welcome ladies and gentlemen to episode 5 of the Dishhhtribute podcast. I am your host, Damon Geis, and in today's episode we'll be discussing where we sit in the NBA playoffs with fallouts from previous games and predictions for the upcoming ones. In the NFL, I'll discuss my favorite 5 picks from the draft, as well as could this be Bobby Wagner's last season in Seattle. Let's get started with the NBA, as we have Nuggets and Blazers, Game 4 fallout from last night. Jokic put up another triple-double. We all know where he sits. One of the top big men in the league, probably number 2, arguably number 1 with Joel Embiid. In addition to that, I do want to take a second, though, and acknowledge Jamal Murray becoming a star right in front of our eyes. This guy is going out hooping, being the leading scorer, leading the team. You know, that Game 3 matchup could have went either way. With the 4 overtimes, I couldn't even make it. I ended up tapping out at the beginning of the third, but I woke up, saw the highlights, and, you know, Rodney Hood was able to come alive for the Blazers, and for them to get out of this series, their bench has to be huge. There's no way around it. And with the Blazers, that's something you haven't consistently gotten. But you see it this year. You know, you have Canner and Zach Collins giving you big contributions, even though Canner's just started, but, you know, they tie in with both. You also have Rodney Hood hitting the big shot, of course, getting you double digits each game. Next, you have Seth Curry coming in. He hit 3 straight triples last night and then hit the buzzer beater. I mean, I think he might have stolen his brother's powers, if we're being honest for a second. But in all seriousness, you look at these two teams, I don't think you could have found a more, you know, balanced matchup between two teams. Now, with Denver, I do give them the edge in terms of big men, of course, as they have Jokic and the Blazers don't have Nurkic. But when you look at this guard play, I would give the advantage to Portland, seeing how they have Dame, and he's arguably making a run to be the second best point guard in the league. You also have CJ McCollum, who's put the team on his back when Dame's been a little bit cold. So, you know, series tied 2-2. We're heading back to Denver. And for Game 5, I'm going to have to go with Denver. On their home floor, I believe they'll take a 3-2 lead. It's just with Jokic, Jamal Murray, and continue to doing their thing. Someone who's started to caught fire as of late has been one Will Barton. And we've seen it all through the regular season. When that guy is rolling, you know, they're very, very hard to beat. You look at him, Gary Harris, starting to get it going as well. So I just believe the tide is starting to turn. After stealing one in Portland, I do believe that Denver will be able to secure home floor, head back to Portland with a 3-2 lead, and then we'll see what happens from there. But I just want to, again, give a pat on the back to Mike Malone and the whole Denver coaching staff and Denver as a team. You know, this is a team that for 2 straight years was on the brink of making the playoffs, right at that 8th spot, and just kept coming up short. This year they were able to break through, get that number 2 seed. And correct me if I'm wrong, but if you look at the Denver Nuggets and you look at Mike Malone and you look at Jamal Murray, you see a sort of Steve Kerr, Steph Curry connection. I mean, I've seen through numerous mic'd up connections that, you know, he'll tell him, keep shooting, keep playing your game. The game that he had against the Spurs when he went for 21, I believe, in the 4th quarter, you know, Mike Malone said, I would have been wrong to take him out. You know, this is the time stars come alive, and Jamal's a star. He's our player. He's our star. So you just look at him and Jokic, I believe they'll be able to take Denver to the next level. Can't wait to see how Game 5 goes. Next, we have Raptors and Sixers. Man, hey, I know we look at Kevin Durant, and I know we look at James Harden, but I believe we're forgetting Kawhi, man, and that the guy able to take that torch, I think it may be Kawhi, man. I mean, he's basically doing what those guys are doing. You know, look at yesterday, 40 points. He's giving it to you in the rebounding department. And then you have him, you know, he's arguably the best defensive player in the world. I don't know what much more we can debate here. I mean, you look at Kendrick Perkins and CJ McCollum. His peers are even saying, you know, he's Michael Jordan with a handle. And it's very hard to, you know, argue that. I mean, he has the hands. He has a better 3 ball than Mike. I wouldn't say finishing around the basket because of Mike's athleticism, the switch in the air and dunk. I don't think Kawhi gets down like that, but he's no slouch. I mean, Kawhi is a stud. Now, I don't know if it'll be enough to make it out of this series against the Sixers. I just believe the Sixers have too much. To beat the Sixers, only two people have to be off that night. And one of them is Joel Embiid. When he's off and he's not, talking smack and rolling and the crowd is not, playing off of him, he's not the same player. I don't believe that he's found a way to break through that yet and become that unstoppable force that people want him to be. You see them, compare him to Hakeem and how skilled he is and has a better three ball, his footwork, and then you'll see those talk about Shaq and how dominant and how much bigger he is and stronger than everybody else. I just don't believe his mindset has completely taken over yet and put him in that category with the let's say the most elite players that have ever played the game. So, however, I do believe at some point he'll find it. I don't know if it'll be this year, but I don't think the Sixers will get past. I don't think the Raptors will get past the Sixers. I just believe it's too much. Kawhi right now has an argument to be the best player in the world, but after that, what do you say? Siakam, we all know how talented he is in the running for most improved player, but the effort you're getting out of Kyle Lowry, he put up a quick 7 points yesterday and they were able to pull through, but when you look at Kyle Lowry, he scares you. You don't know if you're going to consistently get that. Marc Gasol has been pretty, soft this series. Danny Green is Danny Green. So you just hope for Toronto, he can get Kawhi and Siakam can get that third level of production from Lowry or Gasol, which is what they're there for. But after that, you look to Philly, they just have so much that can go right. Ben Simmons can come out and put up 30 out of nowhere, 30 or 20. Embiid is going to do his thing. You have Tobias Harris hitting corner threes and mid-range shots. His style is very similar to Melo. And then, of course, I think the guy who makes everything go round when Joel Embiid is on, Jimmy Butler. We all know, it's very hard to guard Kawhi. Jimmy Butler's doing his best. But I think Jimmy has to get it going offensively consistently for them to have a shot. They also need to get better looks for J.J. Redick, because when J.J. Redick gives you his normal production of 20 points or 25 points out of nowhere, they're very hard to beat. So, as far as Philly is concerned, I do think that they'll win this series. I think that they'll head back to Toronto. This series has been very up and down. Toronto just stole one in Philly. I believe Philly will go back to Toronto and steal one, take a 3-2 lead, and then we'll head back to Toronto and then see where things end up. But as someone who hasn't been, very fond of Philly, and not fond, I would say very confident in Philly. I do believe, after what I saw in Game 3, they have the opportunity to be dominant and take over games. In that fourth quarter, you just felt like it was over. It basically was over. Embiid, throwing down windmill dunks and such. I just believe Philly's too dominant. Once they have the chips rolling, it's very hard to beat them. So I will take them in Game 5. Next, Bucks versus Celtics tonight. We'll have Game 4. Bucks just took Game 3 in Boston. What do I think about Game 4? It's very hard for me to pick against Boston. I just believe that they're so skilled. It's so hard to see them lose. And the thing about Boston is I don't think they take bad shots. I don't think that they, that their lineups are very much bad. I just believe, they get shots and they don't fall. But then when you look at Milwaukee, they're very good at going on runs at those times. So you'll look and Boston will always come hot out the gate. Kyrie will get it going. Al Horford will hit a 3. Jason Tatum will hit a couple mid-range shots. Before you know it, it's about 13-6 Boston. Boom. They go on a 0-5 stretch, right? Can't hit 5 shots in a row. Milwaukee will hit 5 shots in a row. I don't know how many threes. Chris Middleton gets it going. Giannis gets to the line. After that, tie game, timeout. Then Boston has a hard time getting it going again, and Milwaukee is heated up. And then you look at the bench play, you would think that Boston has the advantage here with so many guys that they have that come off the bench, and you would expect to be able to give you some sort of production. You look at Gordon Hayward, who's an all-star. Of course, he has the injury, but, it's been so long from the injury, you expect him to at least... We've seen the flashes. You also look at Marcus Morris, who can go for 20 on any given night. And then you look at the starters. Jaylen Brown can give you 20. He's been dunking on Giannis on this series, hitting corner threes. Tatum, it just frustrates me with Tatum because last year we saw the flashes that put him in that category with Donovan Mitchell and Ben Simmons of the best young guy now. And now it's like, come on, Tatum, shoot the ball. Or, go get the ball. Go take over when Kyrie's not in the game. Now, what I feel like Brad Stevens should do is in the second quarter when they take that lineup, it's usually Rozier, Brown, and Hayward. I don't like that lineup because even though I feel like Hayward can make plays at some point, you limit yourself offensively from the threat that you have. You're not scared of Gordon Hayward driving like you are Tatum. I would like to see Jason Tatum run that unit, take over like he did last year. That's basically the unit that you had last year. So see how that works. Put Tatum into the 3. Let Rozier have some more of the ball, and that's how he feels comfortable scoring. He's able to make those plays on his own. That's what I feel like they did a very good job of in Game 1. They were able to isolate Rozier and Bledsoe. So Bledsoe had that reminder of last year that Rozier gave him some trouble rather than have him confident playing against Kyrie and Rozier being a non-factor. This series is very hard to pick who may come out on top. But for me, Boston is my finals pick. Again, I believe that they're just so skilled. If they're going to win, though, they can't be getting beat like by George Hill and Pat Connaughton. I mean, with all due respect, those are very good NBA players. We know guys are very good in the NBA, but you have too many studs when you look at Boston Celtics roster to not be getting beat by just Giannis or Chris Middleton. You can't come in and let Ersan Ilyasova hit a couple threes on you, or Mirotic, or George Hill. Have that guy off the bench for them that you're going to make beat them. Whether that's Brook Lopez, who hasn't shot good these playoffs, or whatever have you, don't let them get rolling. Don't let Chris Middleton and Giannis beat you. Make someone else beat you. So in Game 5 tonight, I'm going to go with Boston. I just believe, they are not going to lose 2 games on their home floor. They'll be able to figure this thing out. Brad Stevens will go back, make adjustments similar to what he did in Game 1, and we'll see how they'll be able to get rolling. But this is the thing that scared me about Boston. How will they face adversity? How will the Bucks face adversity if they lose this game? A young team, had everything rolling, won 2 back-to-back games. Now you head back with the opportunity to go up 3-2. But we've seen this situation with Kyrie on a team, This is what I want to see from Kyrie. Finals Kyrie. Now with this, of course you don't have LeBron, but I need to see him take those shots, get in your zone, similar to what he did in Game 1, going to the block, similar to, what you saw out of Kobe. As soon as he started hitting those fadeaway jumpers, I said, that's Kobe right there. So that's the groove I need Kyrie to get back into. I need Tatum to take over. I'm going to go ahead and take Boston in Game 5 tonight. Lastly, in the NBA, we have Warriors versus Rockets, the series everybody's talking about. Basically, regardless of how good Denver and Portland are playing, people are calling this the Western Conference Finals. Game 4, hey man, I'm going to have to go ahead and take Houston, Houston at home, coming off a Game 3 win. Harden put up 41. I just believe Houston, this is their moment. And regardless of Golden State going up 2-0, I just believe Houston is very poised and they're very composed. They have the composure to well through when Golden State is able to go on runs and Kevin Durant hits a 3 and Klay hits a 3. They're able to continue to play their game. And that's what I love about Houston so much. As I said it time after time, we're the only team that can beat these guys. That's the mindset they have. Why not us? As a unit. And when I look at PJ Tucker, I can't have him consistently taking jump hooks inside. That allows Golden State to go ahead and pick up, steam when they start having Draymond run it up the floor off a rebound and find one of those shooters in the corner. That's how they kill you. take your time, play your game, let Harden and Paul isolate you up, find the shooter in the corner and live with the result, get back on defense and play ball. James Harden, just keep being you, man. In my opinion, the MVP, don't change up. You drop 41, continue to attack at the basket. If they don't have no guy inside that can attest to what you're doing, throw that lob up to Capella, throw that floater up, finish with each hand, do your thing. Just keep balling like play James Harden's game. Don't let anyone throw you off. Iggy can't guard him. Clay can't guard him. KD can't guard him. And we all know they try to get Curry on the switch, and they try to avoid that. So let Harden keep playing his game. Chris Paul, that's exactly what I need out of you from Game 3. I would like a little bit more scoring, but that's exactly what I need out of CP3. Continue to play your game. Don't as so much worry about what the referees are not calling or they are calling. Play your game. Because in this series, every point matters. So a 3 that you may have missed with Eddie House or Austin Rivers, we saw the production that even Shump gave them with a couple of threes. They just have to be able to hit those. Play their game and don't let anyone throw them off. But like I said, the biggest wild card in the series for Houston has been Eric Gordon. Gordon hitting step back threes. That's the matchup that they really like. Of course, they want to get Curry on Harden, but they find Curry often on Gordon, and he is not afraid to take those shots from 3, drive inside, get an and one. I really love Eric Gordon's play, and I believe he may be the thing that gets Houston over the top. When I look at Golden State, I mean, a week later and we're still talking about Kevin Durant. We know what that guy's going to bring to the table. No LeBron in the playoffs, and we know that he's wanting that mantle of best player in the world. Regardless of what team he's on, his supporting cast, you have to look at the production that he's putting out on the floor. 40 points, he gives you 5 assists, 5 rebounds. He holds it down defensively, taking charges and getting blocks. KD, let's not act like he's not in the running for best player in the world. He's really special. Now, what I've always said, to beat Golden State is you have to win on your home court. You have to. Because once you get back on their home court, Curry's going to be on his game. The shots just fall different for them there. I don't know what it is about Roracle Arena. The crowd starts to get going, and Curry lives off that. They get a little 6-point lead, and he starts launching them. And it's rare that they don't fall when they get hot. Clay's going to play his game. Clay's going to shoot where Clay wants to shoot. And Draymond's going to be Draymond. Same annoying Draymond. Gets in your face. Everywhere on defensively. Running the ball up. Can fool you with layups. I've seen Draymond throw up some shots, and I'll be like, hell no. And Draymond banks them in, and I'm like, you're not going to beat them when they're doing that. So you have Iggy hitting corner threes as well. But what Houston's done very well is they haven't let anyone off Golden State's bench come in and beat them. You look at the Sean Livingstons of the world and the Quinn Cooks and the Jordan Bells, who hasn't really got that much PT, but you just look and you see that they're not letting those guys beat them. It's your core versus our core, but we like our supporting cast more in terms of we can kick it out and we believe that they can hit those threes. We like Capella inside, and for Houston again, man, Capella, when he plays like that, they are damn near unbeatable. I kid you not. They are unstoppable when Capella is inside, grabbing offensive boards, tipping the ball in, blocking shots defensively with Andre Iguodala coming in and Capella saying, get that out of here. They are very hard to beat. If they can play that way, and I believe that they will, I believe that they'll tie up this series tonight, and we'll head back to Golden State tied up 2-2. Switching over to the NFL now. We all know that things are always slow following the NFL draft, but I felt last episode I didn't talk enough about the draft. So with that being said, I wanted to give my favorite 5 picks from the draft. Starting with number 5, we have the Browns, who selected Greedy Williams in the 2nd round. This was such a steal. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with the rest of the NFL. Allowing a guy like this, 6'2", ran a 4.37, like, I don't get it sometimes. I get the Mel Kipers of the world telling you, hey, this guy didn't have a good combine. Look at the product on the field. That's all I have to say. what did you do for me in college? And I don't understand how guys like Deshaun Watson falls to the 20th pick when so many teams had needed a quarterback at that time. We saw what he did against Alabama. So what was there to discuss? Nothing. And I just felt that same way about Greedy. I know he's not a quarterback, but you look at defenses now, the game is won through the air. So if it's not a pass rusher, 9 times out of 10, you're going with a corner. Greedy fell to the second round in the 40s. I really don't understand it. So Cleveland definitely got a steal. He has the potential to be a number 1 corner, and they already have a number 1 corner who they selected with a top 5 pick last year in Denzel Ward. So this team just got a steal. They got another Savage with Jarvis and Odell, another LSU kid with Greedy. So very great steal by the Cleveland Browns picking Greedy Williams. I do believe that he'll be the defensive steal of this draft. Number 4, you have the Baltimore Ravens selecting Marquise Hollywood Brown. I believe this was a steal. For me, I said that I wanted to see the Saints trade back up and get this guy because I said that they needed speed offensively. But when you look at the Ravens and what they needed, this was the perfect pick. We all know the injury concerns, but I don't believe that it'll last forever. This guy is a stud. I mean, we've seen him with the top-notch quarterbacks and what he's done. Is in Baker and Kyler Murray. So I just expect this guy to be an absolute stud with Lamar Jackson. I don't know if Lamar will be able to give him the deep balls, but such as wide receiver screens and getting things going off shallow routes and quick screens, this guy is going to be a stud. And I believe John Harbaugh and that coaching staff will be able to not only, of course he focuses on defense, but I believe they'll be able to work around their playmakers. You look at that team and we know what they are now. Speed. Speed and finesse. So as far as Lamar Jackson and Hollywood Brown, expect that to be a top-notch connection this year. I'm going to be honest. I believe that they are, they did win the division. So with this team in Cleveland and Pittsburgh, they're still the team to beat. Let's not get it twisted. They did lose C.J. Mosley, but they did bring in Earl Thomas, to fill in that Eric Weddle spot. And Earl, in my opinion, is someone who's watched the Seahawks and knows how Earl comes back. He's still Earl. He's going to play with that hunger. He's going to fly from sideline to sideline. And, I like Baltimore. I do. So, we'll see where it goes. Number 3, the Buccaneers selecting Devin White. For me, I really like what the Buccaneers are doing. Again, as someone who's been a Seahawks fan for as long as I remember, I used to dread playing Bruce Arians' Cardinals. I kid you not. They compete. Any team Bruce coaches, they compete 60 minutes. No ifs and buts about it. They're coming to tackle. And, he's brought Todd Bowles back to that coaching staff, and we know how elite that defense was in Arizona. You had guys talking about Arizona going to the Super Bowl with Carson Palmer. So this team with Bruce Arians at the forefront, I believe that they can do some dangerous things. We all know, how great Mike Evans is. I believe we'll get that same Larry Fitzgerald type production. I do believe he'll be able to do some things with Jameis and, make the Ronald Jones pick, mean something, and Chris Godwin. But defensively, you look at, he was able to bring in Deion Buchanan, who he had in Arizona. I really have been a fan of Vern. Shout out Vern in Tampa. Putting me on Vern. That guy is a stud. Once they get him going, he got hurt in game 1, but he had it going. And, if he's able to get that Patrick Peterson, Tyrann Mathieu type production out of him, Todd Bowles, that is, Devin White leading the defense. It still remains to be seen what is going to be done with Gerald McCoy, but Vita Vea, who they have, Jason Pierre-Paul, I believe this team, I'm not going to go as far as to say that won the division with the Saints in there, who actually would be my Super Bowl pick in the NFC. But I think they're good enough to come in second. We've seen how good they can compete. Panthers, 9 times out of 10, are going to be without Cam this season. The Falcons are up and down, always iffy. So, hey, man, Buccaneers, this is your shot. Go on the map, and let's see what happens. Number 2, the Redskins selecting Dwayne Haskins. I have no idea how this guy was able to fall to to the 15th pick to the Redskins. They didn't have to move. They didn't have to slide. They stayed right where they wanted to, and they got their guy. A team in the division, the Giants, we all know they picked Daniel Jones, which was the most unpopular pick of the draft. But, everything works out for a reason. I know we're talking the Redskins here, but just looking at the Giants, teams were looking at the Bears funky when they selected Mitch Trubisky. I try not to get caught up in the draft thing, except for if I believe a good quarterback has slided way past where they were supposed to be. Now with Cleveland, in the year that they didn't pick Deshaun Watson, they picked Myles Garrett, and now you look at that defense and everything that tied in, it worked out. With the Giants, they believe that Daniel Jones will be their next predecessor after Eli, and things will go well. So we have to see how it goes. I do believe they could have picked Dwayne Haskins, but the Redskins got him. Nonetheless, I believe, with those array of running backs they have, Paul Richardson on the outside, Jordan Reed, I can't wait to see if he can actually get the most out of Jordan Reed and be able to make him one of the studs that he has been. He was able to stay healthy, but the quarterback position wasn't there. It's always something with the Redskins. So if they can just keep that connection healthy, we'll see what happens. I really like Dwayne Haskins to the Redskins, though. And of course, the number one pick, Kyler Murray to the Cardinals. I've said it time after time when speaking leading up to the draft. You just look at the quarterbacks in the NFC East, they're all Super Bowl caliber. We saw Jimmy G, lead a Super Bowl team to 2 wins. We saw Jared Goff just last year lead his team to the Super Bowl. And Russell Wilson, we know, been to 2 Super Bowls, won one. The league is changing. So for them to get rid of Josh Rosen, who they felt like wasn't their guy, get Kyler Murray, a guy whose style is more of what you're looking for today's game. I'm very excited for what Arizona has going on. They picked another receiver in the draft to go along with Larry Fitzgerald, who's still there, and Christian Kirk. So Larry's going to be able to, gel those guys. You have one of the best running backs in the league in David Johnson. I'm very excited for what Arizona could get going offensively, and I do think that this Kyler Murray pick will pay off. Trading Josh Rosen will pay off, and I'm very excited to see, will they come out the gates looking sluggish, or will they be able to, be one of the best offenses off rip? They have the talent to do it. They have the depth. So we just need to see how that coaching staff is able to tie everything together. Wrapping up the show today, we will be speaking. I just feel like my Seahawks have been in the news way more than they need to be. You look at the past couple seasons, we haven't been in the news as much as far as, aside from losing members of the LOB, but this year we lost Earl Thomas. You had the Russell Wilson contract situation. We had to trade away Frank Clark, and in terms of being able to, keep our team moving, pick LJ Collier in the first round, DK Metcalf in the second. They're talking about Doug retiring, and now you have the best linebacker in football, Bobby Wagner, coming out and saying, hey, I understand this is a business. This might be my last season in Seattle. I would like to retire here, but we know this is a business. I hate hearing stuff like that. And it's because I know who our coaching staff and our general manager is. They literally let you play the whole season and don't talk anything about it. And I get from the front office perspective that may be good, but when you look at how the NFL is changing with guys like Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown, those are some of the best guys at their position. So when they want their money, they want their money. They're willing to hold out. They're willing to leave. And Bobby, he's never been that outspoken cat, really talking to the media. But, this may be the start of something. And I just hope that they're able to get it done. For years to come, I want to see Russell and Bobby be able to lead the team after the Legion of Boom and Marshawn are now gone. I believe this is their time. We have a very good roster. Tyler Lockett and Russell had that connection going. DK Metcalf. I really like Chris Carson finishing top 5 in rushing after missing a couple games. We know that defense brings to the table. Now, we did lose Frank, but as long as we have Bobby, I believe everything is okay. You also have Trey Flowers, who was one of PFF's best corners last year. We know Pete likes his long corners. You also have the Shaq brothers. They want more out of Shaquem this year. I'm really looking forward to what this team could be. I hope that something is able to get done with Bobby, we were able to bring KJ back and be able to have that going. So I just believe that the Seahawks are a very good team. Weren't expected to make the playoffs last year. Probably under the radar again this year. So if they can keep everything going, just keep that team gelled together and be able to play their game, they're one of the best teams in the league. They really are. Running the ball, playing football defensively. We know that's what Pete Carroll wants to do. And it starts with 5-4 on that defense. So hopefully they're able to get that man his money. But that will be all from Dishhtribute today. Very good episode in my opinion. We're able to speak very much on the hottest topics. Next week we'll discuss where we sit in the playoffs as far as things wrapping up. And moving on to the NFL, we'll have some juicy topics as far as our top 5 quarterbacks and running backs. Doing position rankings in the NFL is one of the things that I hold near and dear to my heart. I really can't wait to start doing on the podcast. We also might talk about fantasy football. I think that's something the crowd would very much like to perceive. In my opinion, I would like to think of myself as a fantasy football guru. So I'll be able to send out some shout outs to you guys, give you some help to win in your leagues. But again, that is all for Dishhtribute today. I appreciate you guys tuning in for episode 5. Look forward to episode 6 next week. This is Damon Geis signing off.